I think one of the craziest things, and I think what a lot of people don't realize, is that whether you're in one industry or the other, the problems are the same. It's the same cyber, it's the same technology. We're dealing with a lot of the same things. You may deal with certain nuances in terms of what you're delivering to your customer, but that backbone is very similar. We're all facing very similar challenges. It doesn't matter the company, it doesn't matter the industry. Some things change, but they're very nuanced. It's all of the same kind of challenges that we're all facing. I mean, right now, everyone is on the artificial intelligence bandwagon, and we're all kind of dealing with that, but that doesn't change from company to company. It doesn't change from industry to industry.
Talking about how AI is both changing what you're looking out for and what we need to be aware of, but also changing how you are using AI to assist you in keeping the organization secure. Those real life situations where there is a breach or there is an attack, can you talk us through one of those experiences?
Sure. I would say
I could not be more excited to be here.
I'm excited too.
Thank you so much for coming. Here with Margarita Rivera, CISO of Carnival Corporations, comprised of 8 huge companies, including Carnival Cruise Lines.
Yes, indeed.
You have had such an incredibly inspirational trajectory in your career. I'm so excited to talk about it with you today.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Nikki. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah,
Happy that we get to sit down
I
in this amazing place.
I know. Isn't this so amazing? We love it.
It's incredible, indeed.
And I mean, I'm excited for many reasons, but one, and we've already started chatting a little bit on the side about this, but just being a woman in this space feels rare and special, and especially at the levels that you're at. I know me being a seller in security, I often find myself being the only female in the room, and I know that that's something that you have said as well.
Absolutely.
So I would love to just get your perspective of like what it is like being a female executive in a male-dominated industry and just how that has shaped your career.
Wow. Big question to kind of kick us off, but so glad to really talk about it. You know, when I think about when all of this began, meaning, you know, my career straight out of college, I would have never thought that I would be, you know, sitting in the role for the amazing company that I work for today. And it's truly such an honor. I'm so grateful that I get to live the life that I'm living and serve in the ways that I am. But when I first started in cybersecurity, which was my accidental career, I always say it because I went to school and got my degree and bachelor's in business administration initially.
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And sales was like a total accident too. I was going to ask you, like, did you knowingly mean to get into security, or was it a happy accident?
It was the most wonderful accident that it could ever be, and really has shaped kind of my trajectory. So I started working in financial services right out of college. And at that time, data security, which was really just one individual kind of managing firewalls and managing antivirus, needed some help because in financial services, which, you know, still exists today, they're heavily audited. Right. The audit cycle is year round. And they were being audited and they needed some help and asked me if I would come in and kind of help support, even though I was supporting a completely different area. We happened to report to the same boss, and my boss, seeing that I was, you know, hungry and driven and fresh out of college, she kind of stuck me to help.
Ooh,
and
see,
that
women
was the best thing
lifting
ever.
women up, right?
Yes.
She like saw something in you and gave you the opportunity, and you ran with it.
Absolutely. So I did that, and I loved it. And I was completely mesmerized. It wasn't during a time where technology was transforming so much, but cybersecurity had not become not even a shadow of what it is today. And I did that kind of for 2 years concurrently with the role that I was hired for. And I loved it. But what I didn't realize is that that would kind of kick off a whole series of events. And early on was one of the few and only women in tech. And as I pivoted and kind of, you know, went back to school and did certs and did my master's, I was, again, one of the few.
At Harvard, by the way.
Yes, which
incredible.
Was an amazing, we could get into so much about that as well. But that's also one of the most amazing just achievements of my life, and was something that I hoped and dreamed to do when I was in high school, which again, a completely another story.
Wow.
But yes, very much the only woman. It's so amazing now to see, I mean, 23 years later, so many more women, obviously, nowhere where we would want it to be. But much better than where it was. I mean, I used to be the only woman, and I remember going and, speaking at conferences, and at first kind of being looked at like, well, what does she have to bring? And, within the first few seconds being able to kind of show that, oh, wow, she actually does know what she's talking about.
Oh my gosh. I can relate.
And and that kind of just, continued to build, my brand and continue to build just what, my journey has been. And now, again, 23 years later, sitting as the global CISO for Carnival Corporation is just, it's incredible. It's
really
a
is.
Life dream. Two things that I love, cyber and cruising. Can't go wrong. So I absolutely
Do you get
enjoyed
free
it.
cruises out of Miami?
So we get some perks. I won't say whether
if you
free
need a
or
plus
not.
one,
Oh, absolutely.
we'll have a girls trip. Leave the family at home.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
So it's a great company to work for. Great benefits. We do get some cruising benefits.
I love it.
And it's just been amazing.
And you're back home because you're born and raised in Miami. So it's like full circle. Because I know your first jobs, you were just telling me you were at Univision for a while.
Yes.
You left, you went to some other organizations. You were in North Carolina. And then now you're here back in Miami.
Yes, it's been amazing. So did have a wonderful stint at Univision where I got the opportunity to do not only cybersecurity, but also some on-camera work, working in their segments for their morning show, which was such an honor, educating the Latino community about cybersecurity and being kind of their cybersecurity commentator, which was awesome. From there, went over to Lennar, which is another Fortune 200 company. It was incredible. They were actually the ones that about 4 years into my journey with them asked me to transition over to North Carolina to help split their company. So a lot of folks know Lennar as a construction company or a major home builder. What a lot of folks don't know is that they are also comprised of many businesses. They're an umbrella corporation, and at that time, they had an asset management company. They had a luxury rental company. They had capital asset management. They even had a solar panel company. They did all kinds of things. And they were looking to divest the non-core home building entities and asked me if I would move up to North Carolina to kind of lead the charge from a tech perspective and help build out cyber, help build out information security and build out tech and privacy. And I was like, absolutely. So moved up and was the CISO over there. And it was amazing. It was such an incredible experience.
So that was your first CISO role.
Yes.
And you were overseeing all of these different types of organizations, industries, companies.
Yes.
I mean, take me through that moment where you realize like, okay, I have to step up and fill this role, fill these shoes, and potentially oversee areas or industries that I don't necessarily have experience in. Like how do you manage that mentally, like stepping into that role? What was that like for you?
Sure. It was incredible. I think I've always been, the kind of person that is always willing to step into things that I may not have, 100% worked out, meaning I may not, be in that industry and understand all the dynamics that go into, managing a divestiture of that size. However, the way I'm able to kind of think and process through things is what really, I think, made them, trust me and give me the opportunity to go and kind of do this. And I've always been a very strategic mind. I always kind of look at things and new challenges with the white sheet of paper. Kind of, it's clean, it's white, there's nothing on there. So if I was to build this, what components do I need? And I draw from experiences and kind of draw from what I've done in the past and saw what worked at some companies, what didn't work at others, and use, some basic foundational kind of components to help build. And I'm also not beyond, what I don't know, and that's okay. So I'm not beyond phoning a friend and saying, hey, I know you've done this before. What have you done? What has made you successful here? What has worked? What hasn't worked? What are things I should think about? And just being able to draw upon others' experiences to help me kind of think through and process that information. And I did a lot of that. And then I made sure that I hired the best and the brightest. So I always want to surround myself with folks that have a skill set and have a way of thinking that may not be similar to mine. And that's okay, because I love being able to sit down and have conversations and debate different points of views and kind of come out with what the best outcome is. So going up there was incredible. It was such a wonderful experience. I really had the opportunity to bring in some really great folks and just kind of sit down and say, all right, how do we make this work? How do we get the company to where it needs to be so that it could operate? I mean, we were unwinding systems, getting everything stood up from a technology and a cybersecurity perspective. I think one of the funnest parts of all of this was that they never gave us kind of what's the deadline. It was just make sure that tech and security are done by the time we're ready to go and IPO and divest and whatnot. And obviously a lot changed in the world with COVID and the economy and whatnot. So they never really got to the point where they officially IPO'd during my tenure. They did IPO after, but I was a part of building all the infrastructure and all the security stack that was needed in order to have the company go live.
Yeah, what an incredible learning ground, right?
It was just amazing.
Get your hands on so much and be able to build that from scratch.
Correct. I think one of the craziest things, and I think what a lot of people don't realize, is that whether you're in one industry or the other, the problems are the same.
Yeah.
It's the same cyber. It's the same technology. We're dealing with a lot of the same things. You may deal with certain nuances in terms of what you're delivering to your customer, but that backbone is very similar. We're all facing very similar challenges. It doesn't matter the company. It doesn't matter the industry. Some things change, but they're very nuanced. It's all of, the same kind of challenges that we're all facing. I mean, right now, everyone is on the artificial intelligence bandwagon, and we're all kind of dealing with that, but that doesn't change from company to company. It doesn't change from industry to industry.
This is such a perfect segue in where we naturally want this conversation to go, and talking about how AI is both changing what you're looking out for and what we need to be aware of, but also changing how you are using AI to assist you in keeping the organization secure. Like how are you and your team thinking about AI in terms of security right now?
Absolutely. So it's moving fast. I kind of equate it to, back in the 70s when, the internet came and kind of transformed the world and transformed how we did business and how we looked at things. I really feel like we are kind of going through another iteration of that. And
another .com era.
Yes, it's like another .com era. Absolutely. So it's incredible just to kind of see the art of the possible and having to rethink how we do things. The reality is that AI has been around for a long time. And in the technology and cyberspace, we've been leveraging AI for quite some time. What's changing now is a lot of the productivity tools and the agentic portions that's kind of changing the way we do things. But our organization, is very focused on ensuring that we can build the right guardrails and transparency so that we can support the business. The business wants to move fast. They want to take advantage. It's a core differentiator in how businesses, operate. So we are just trying to build in our controls. We're trying to build in the transparency. We're trying to help on the training side and helping the organization move into this next massive wave that is going to transform the way we all do business. It already is, but we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
I know. It's hard to even imagine. When you ask people, where do you see business in 5 years? No one can even pretend to answer that question right now because none of us has any idea how AI is going to impact business.
Correct.
We can hypothesize, but we really don't know. And so it is just happening in real time in front of our eyes, and we're all just trying to adapt and leverage this technology as best we can while also protecting ourselves against how this might change the future of business and cybersecurity attacks.
Absolutely. So I think I equate it to kind of the change that we saw when we transitioned. So when I first started in cybersecurity, everything was on-prem. There was nothing in the cloud. So it was very easy to secure the perimeter. It was easy to secure your data. And then, the cloud transformations came in and your perimeter was gone. And now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out, how do I protect the data? And ultimately we're going through that again. We're just trying to decide, how do we protect the data as best as possible? How do we gain some visibility? How do we ensure that we don't have our financials going out into an unsecured LLM, and that we're not training somebody else's models in that way? And I mean, there's just so much to dive into, but it's really comes down to the same things that we kind of had to go through when we were transforming from on-prem to cloud.
How much I know that you've said before that like security is a shared mindset across the organization, right? Like how much anxiety does it give you to think about all of the humans that work at your organization that could potentially be voluntarily putting this information into AI models? Do you think about that?
Of course. I mean, you have to think about every possibility. I think it's been very important for us to build in awareness and just creating, again, that mindset.
Yep.
So it's important for folks to understand, not only from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint. When you go home and, you're asking ChatGPT how to do certain things, are you putting in, your personal information? How are you navigating that? So we really try to teach folks how to deal with things from a personal standpoint, so it shapes their behaviors professionally, and understanding, what the risks are out there of leveraging these very powerful tools.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be gained in efficiencies. There's a lot to be gained in productivity. There's a lot that we can reimagine in how we operate. I mean, it's very powerful. It's amazing. Again, it's transforming everything. But we want folks to understand and have that responsibility. And if they understand how it impacts their personal lives, then we're hoping that it will translate to their professional lives as well, and that they will do the right thing. But that's why you have to build in the transparency, because when they don't, you want to make sure that you have the visibility to kind of come in and help them and protect them and protect the company's most important assets, which is information.
Throughout your career, so you don't have to tell us which organization it happened with. Like, is there a particular incident that you still think about, or that emergency call in the middle of the night, all hands on deck sort of situation? Like what we all think about cybersecurity as like protecting ourselves against the hackers, right? But so much of that becomes administrative and processes and but those real life situations where there is a breach or there is an attack, can you talk us through one of those experiences?
Sure. Wow. Have to kind of deep dive into the archives here. I would say, I've gone through my fair share. Thankfully, none at Carnival. So
nice.
I'm thankful for that. I want to knock on wood. I will knock on wood over here. But the reality is everything has changed. When I started in cyber, it was about preventing. Everything was about preventing the breach, preventing the hack. And the reality is that nowadays, you can't prevent 100% anything.
I am hearing this more and more.
Yes.
So I'm talking to a lot of CISOs, obviously, and this is probably the theme that comes up every single time. We're all eventually going to get popped. That's what they say.
Correct.
And so understanding what to do when that happens.
So being able to react and respond is where it's at. Nowadays, we have to be ready to just analyze a lot of data and respond as quickly as possible to contain and remediate any type of situation. But I think one of the ones that kind of come, very much to mind was over a decade ago. I will not say companies. However, it actually came through one of our third parties. And It's crazy to think, because if you look now and you start going to, maybe the Verizon data breach report, or you go to Gartner, the vast majority of situations are happening because of third parties.
Yep.
Happened back then. It's still happening now. Yep. I think now it's even more pervasive, and you see kind of fourth party, fifth party, the nth party impacts. And in this situation and scenario, we had a situation that, came to light, and there was a data disclosure situation where a lot of records were available with lots of PII, and, we had to navigate through that. And it's very different navigating through a situation where your company is popped versus where one of your partners are popped. Very different kind of scenario. And how you get engaged and how you truly partner with, that third party in order to remediate that situation. We were, a couple weeks kind of navigating through all of that and really partnering with them and going through all the regulatory requirements from all of the states within the US that we had to report back to. It's never fun. Yeah. It's never something that, we want to have to navigate through, but it's something that we've all had to deal with at one point or another. And, thankfully we were able to navigate through it and minimize, the impact to our customer base. Because the reality is that our customers don't look at it as, oh, well, this was a mess up.
Them.
Correct.
Yeah,
No, they look at it. It's your responsibility. You did business with them.
Yep.
And now what are you going to do to protect my information and to protect me? Because now my information is out there.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why third-party risk is so important.
It is.
I don't know which camera to look at.
It absolutely is. And it continues to be more and more important as more and more organizations partner with other companies in order to get their business done. So we have to do the right thing.
And as the parameter continues to spread out, right? Because now we're connecting to third parties and nth parties, and you talk about securing the parameter. Now it's more and more spread as an organization has more vendors. Margarita, how do you compartmentalize in your brain so that you can go home and be with your family and not continuously think about all of the ways in which someone might have access to your customers' data?
Easier said than done. Most CISOs don't sleep quite well.
Yeah.
I sleep generally well.
In sales, asking the question, what keeps you up at night, is the most contrived question you can ask. But to ask a CISO, it's almost like it really is genuine. How do you turn that switch off? Because it's such a growing responsibility day to day.
It is. It absolutely is. You have to be very intentional. Yeah. That's the reality. I always knew, growing up in my industry and during my career, that it was going to be very important to me to try to find, what that balance is. Yeah. And it isn't the balance of, 50% family, 50% work. That's not the reality. Right. Nobody really has the ability to do that. But that it ebbs and flows. So that there's going to be moments where you're going to be all hands on deck at work, and there's going to be weeks that you're, in it in the grind. And then there's moments where you're in it in the grind with your family, and with your loved one and with your friends. Because not only am I a CISO, but I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a sister. And those are all responsibilities that are equally or more important to me than, the day-to-day work. I love what I do and I love my job and I love the opportunities that are set before me, but I also love the fact that I get to balance that with the needs of my family and be present. So I've always been very keen on making sure that my time is balanced, that I have, every single activity that's important to my children, that I'm present, that I'm spending time with my spouse, that we're going on vacation. And even beyond that, what am I doing for myself as an individual? Because even though I wear a lot of hats, I'm also a human being that requires some downtime, that requires self-reflection, that requires balance on my own. So I've always been very intentional about how is my calendar looking and where am I sneaking in those moments, and do I have a day that I can sit and binge watch something on Netflix? Because that's important to it. You got to have some balance in your life. And if you don't do that and it all becomes about work, then it's kind of miserable. It can't be all work. It can't be all family. It has to be, again, just balancing out your time and making sure that you're carving in, but it's all about the intentionality.
Yeah. Margarita, there's so much that I and other women can learn from you in that regard. It's so easy to get out of balance.
Oh, it is.
It's so, and when, I too have children and a family and, a growing career, and watching women like you who have even more responsibility and have flourished even more in their career. It's such a cliche question and topic to talk about, but really being able to see someone model what that looks like, it's so impactful to everyone who witnesses how you move through the world and through your career. And so, I think it's one of the reasons why I was so excited to sit down and talk to you today, because I think that amplifying women's voices who are doing the thing, it just shows other women what is possible. And it means a lot.
Well, that's it. You. But I'll be very, very candid with you, Nikki. It's not always perfect. And I think a lot of women, especially, very high successful women, want to make it look like, hey, it's easy. And, hey, I navigate through this flawlessly. Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes on a good day.
Sometimes no. Yeah. Sometimes I get home and I'm like, pop open that bottle of wine because I am incredibly stressed and I'm tired. Yeah. And sometimes I get it wrong and it's okay. Like, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Yeah. It's okay to have a mess in your house sometimes. It's okay. Like, that's normal. We're all navigating through different things. And the reality is that there's moments that you're going to have to make certain decisions and you're going to have to pause. But if you give yourself that grace, then you can navigate through it. I mean, the art of the possible is out there for what we want to do. But trying to make it seem like it's, easy and that it's, just flawless. No, it's not. There's times that you have to sit down and what you need is going to be different. So you'll sit down with your spouse, which I have an amazing one. And I will sit down and say, hey, I need this in this season. I need this support, because a lot of times we don't want to ask for help, or we feel bad if we ask for help, or if we get someone to come clean our home, or if we have someone come cook for us. Or I love to cook, so I cook in my house. But just examples, like there are things that we can outsource that we should absolutely consider in outsourcing. Yeah. And there are times that we may need more from our kids or may need more from our spouse, or, it takes a village. And I have a village. I've always had a village.
I was literally having this conversation with my husband this morning. I'm like, we have to start figuring out what we can outsource because it's just, you reach these upper limits,
That's exactly right.
And it is important to us and people like us and women like us to continue excelling in their career and moving forward and expanding. And so I think when you find those upper limits, really, like you said, just having those conversations and figuring out, okay, what's going to give here? Because something needs to.
But it's so much easier for us to do that in a work setting and so much more difficult for us to do that in a personal setting. If we would approach our home life, and I'm not saying, hey, become the CEO of your house, but if we would approach our home life that way and thinking through like, okay, wait a minute, I have way too much going on. My bandwidth is stretched. What would I do? Well, I would outsource this, or I would get some help here, or I would get some help there. I would hire an assistant. I would do something else that's different. And we need to do that as well. What are the things that I absolutely must do? I absolutely must be present at the most important things for my children. I can't outsource that. But I can outsource cleaning. I can outsource cooking. There's things that I can outsource that I don't need to be involved in, that really don't add any value, and that my time is better spent doing other things. When I was bringing up my daughters, I have 3 daughters, and they were babies. Initially, they were in daycare. And then once I had my second and my third, I ended up getting a nanny. And I used to love it because I used to be able to go to work and come home and my daughters were bathed and the food was cooked.
And you could just enjoy it.
And I got to come home and be mom and throw myself on the floor, and I wasn't running around. And was it a stretch and was it hard? Absolutely, because I wasn't a CISO then and I wasn't making money, where I needed to be. But I looked for ways to just give me time, to buy my time. And did it make it tight for us? Absolutely. But had I not done that investment in that time, there's no way I would have been able to do what I'm doing today. So it's just kind of looking at it from that perspective. Like, I'm always thinking and reevaluating, how do I buy back my time? Because ultimately, that is the most important asset that you can't fill in anywhere.
So we've talked about how AI is changing how you think about security and how we are thinking about protecting the organization. There's always this sort of trade-off between like speed and assurance of security, right? How do you find that balance between getting pressure from the business to move fast, right? But also this expectation that we need to keep everything secure. Like, how do you balance those two aspects?
Sure. So there is definitely a trade-off. And I like to kind of describe it in the best way that I can. I am a huge Formula One fanatic.
I love that.
And it's always the example that I will give when we are building our programs. So if you think about Formula One, you're building for speed. The cars are built for speed. Everything about it, the way the tracks are laid out, are built for speed. The way the drivers are trained, they're trained for speed. But you can't sacrifice speed with security. Because if everything is about the speed and nothing is about the safety and security,
it goes off the rails.
It goes off the rails and someone can get hurt.
Yeah, literally.
So when I talk about, that trade-off, with our folks, with our executive management, with our audit committee, with our board, it's really about how do we build in safety and security into the vehicle. So if you think about a Formula One car, it has deformable structures. It has the seat belts, everything that's done in training for those race car drivers. I mean, they are prepared to do what they need to do, but they're not sacrificing safety or security in order to get it done. So the way that you kind of balance between innovating and going fast, but doing it securely is to build in security into everything that you do.
Oh, I love that.
So that's really the approach. It's really about preparing the organization and kind of giving them those guardrails so that they can innovate quickly, so they can fail forward quickly, so that if something goes off the rails, we can see it quickly, so that we can mitigate any type of risk that's being introduced into the environment. So that's really the way I see that you balance and how you can determine like whether that trade-off is going to be balanced or not. Because if you're always being reactive, or if you're always shutting everything down because you don't want the business to do anything because it's too risky, then you're not allowing the business to move quickly and to innovate and to actually succeed in a world that's ever changing, especially from a technology standpoint.
So you're really thinking about embedding it into the business operations.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
So a lot of times, and you'll look at, cyber, I always say this, we have all these organs, but we don't create the connective tissue.
Yeah.
So really building in security as having that connective tissue where everything functions harmoniously and they're not counteracting each other. It's just a genuine, authentic way for things to kind of operate together versus having, them work against each other where it introduces undue friction.
Yeah, it's brilliant because you do so often hear about security being this bottleneck or this cost center or this like almost this external organization that's like a necessary piece that has to be a part of it, but it's really not ingrained into the fabric of the organization. And this kind of goes back to that cultural mindset.
It does.
Of, creating this environment where people are thinking about security in and throughout their everyday business functions. And
I saw that very early on. So, security was always kind of, shunned away because
like, over
here they go again, making things incredibly too difficult. And very early on in my career, I was like, I'm not going to be that person. Because I had that business background, I always understood that the bottom line impact is incredibly important.
It's always going to come first.
Exactly. So why not tie into that? Why not make sure that every initiative that my team is putting together ties in directly to what our organization is trying to do? And just really being able to translate that and not always be bits and bytes, but talk about, the revenue impact or how we can generate better revenue or how do we position security and safety to our guests. I mean, really makes a huge difference in how we operate. So we're a part of it. We're not just, the group that you come to when you're having a problem, but really that partner that you want to kind of think through things and get creative and think differently with.
I mean, it's brilliant. It's so simple and yet effective.
There's just a lot of kind of draconian ways of facing security. And I would say women are very creative. So, we have to find ways to do things differently if we want it to succeed. So I love the fact that we get to kind of come into industries that may have thought and been very different in their approach and are changing the way that we operate so that we can have that seat at the table and work with our partners and be a trusted advisor versus anything else, any other type of role within an organization.
It's truly collaborative.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for our final question, Margarita, first of all, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I've had so much fun.
I know, me too. We'll do it again.
Okay, absolutely.
Looking at the horizon from AI to culture to representation, what gives you the most hope about the future of cybersecurity?
It all gives me hope. It is an incredible, exciting time to be in cyber, to be a woman, and to be navigating everything through artificial intelligence and what it's doing. I mean, I could not be in a better time and in a better moment in my career. I love seeing how AI is transforming things, how we're having to rethink everything. I love that. The creative side of my brain just loves the opportunity to look at everything that we do from a security standpoint and find better and more efficient ways to do it and to leverage a technology like AI and agentic AI in order to make that happen. So incredibly excited about that. Representation, we're seeing, more women, more diversity in the space than ever before. And it's just amazing to look back. For me, it's always been a very passionate goal of mine to be able to show that, hey, you know, I was able to do it. I came from two very humble beings that brought me into this world, and I've been able to build an amazing career, and I've worked hard to do it. And if I can do it, anybody can. So just being able to see all the changes that are happening is incredible. And from a cybersecurity standpoint, it's incredibly fun. I love what I do. I love the fact that I get to get up every morning and work with my team and think of new ways to secure our organization. And we're just going to become more and more ingrained in everything that our business does. And that is incredibly exciting for me. So the future is very bright.
Wow. What an honor. Margarita, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
sitting down and having this conversation
Absolutely.
with me. I am walking away and thinking about so much of what you said. I will continue to expound on it in the coming days, but I just appreciate it. I appreciate your perspective. I think the more the world gets of humans like you, the better.
I appreciate that. It's been an absolute pleasure and a lot of fun. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.